Okay, hello everybody. B-Rock here, Mike Batteraco here with the lead vocalist of Little Caesar, um, Ron Young. Say hi, Ron.
Hey, how you doing? Hi,
Not too
man.
bad. Not too bad. How's yourself?
Good.
Good. We're gonna sit here and bullshit about Little Caesar, about stuff he's got coming up, and just bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. You know,
Bullshit. That's
bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
that's my name
Uh,
is attached. It's bullshit.
yeah. Um, and like the good line says, all right, all right, all right, all right.
All right, all right.
um, Tell me a little bit about you. We all know you're a vocalist. We all know that you front Little Caesar. We all know that. A little bit about you. Who is Ron Young? Who is the guy that when he's off stage? Who is he? What do you do? We know music don't pay the bills anymore.
No,
Um,
no.
but
This is journey of the spirit, not of the wallet.
exactly. But a little bit about you. What?
Well, originally in New York, we moved out to California, because that's where rock and roll was really happening. Where in New York, it was more dance music and hip hop and shit. So,
Right.
um, came out the great weather. Oh, wow, close up.
Yeah.
Oh, started building motorcycles, ride motorcycles everywhere because the weather was great. And then, years into it, started getting into hot rods and building custom cars and had a custom metal shop for a while. And now I run a ranch / farm. I got
Nice.
1,100 avocado trees and 19 animals and 20 acres. And I'm out on about an hour 15 outside of Hollywood.
Nice.
And nice during this little pandemic to have my little pandemic hideaway. I can, shoot my guns and
Do whatever you want.
do whatever the hell I want to do.
Run around naked,
Yeah, I do lots of that. So that's kind of what I do now. And, got my musical projects and stay in contact with people on social media and find the good ones and try to ignore the bad ones,
Exactly.
And, there's a lot of really good people in music that have learned a lot of lessons and have a lot of good things to share and great experiences and,
Hell yeah.
out there. So it's a good tool if you don't let it get to your brain, it's great.
You got, like you said, stay away from the negativity. The news is one of them. You got to stay the hell away.
Yeah,
from
well, you can't tell the difference between news and propaganda. That's the problem.
That's it.
From both sides of the fence. So
right. Back in the 80s, back in the day, the news was informative and it told you, it was
it was an opinion. Talking heads.
Now it's
like this shit happened today. Moving on, this other shit happened.
Exactly.
Now this shit happened today, and this is why, and this is whose fault it is. And it's like
it's not right.
It's absolutely insane, man. Really has gotten insane. So it's hard to filter. It
really is. I mean, but you got to. I took my whole Facebook, no news stories, no bullshit.
Yeah, I stopped. I'm a smart ass, so I try to use comedy to point out the absurdity of politics, and everybody takes it so fucking seriously. So I
do
stop doing it.
You can't.
Some people can't even joke about the absurdity of our realities that we really have no control in.
Right.
And you make a joke and then people just lose their shit. And it's like, you know what? This is not even fun. I thought it would at least be fun for the people that get the absurdity, but they don't. So now it's just, animal pictures and music
There you go. Puppies and kitties.
Yeah, puppies, kitties, yeah.
Music.
And this is what my cat ate. This is what my, the wild animals I encounter out here, out in the middle of nowhere every week.
Hell yeah. And that's the good Facebook. I mean, really.
Yeah, exactly. You stay in touch with people and you support people and you encourage people. And, unfortunately, lately it's been a lot of finding out who's passed away and who's got sick. And, it's really it sucks, but
Yeah.
it keeps me informed. So
Right. You got to stay informed about that stuff. Okay. Take me back to 1987. That's when Little Caesar hits the scene. You're on the Sunset Strip, okay,
yeah,
and everybody around you has got eyeliner. They
oh
got
yeah,
teased
pretty
hair. They're
looking like chicks, yeah.
pretty. Little Caesar hits the scene, man. You just let him in leather, ride up on your bikes. I mean, there is a thing called, that I live my life by. It's why should I fit in when I could stand the fuck out?
Yeah,
And
that's basically it. It was everybody kind of was cookie cutter, cut out, crazy teased up hair and sort of stretchy jean, stretchy tight sort of dance pants and all this kind of shit. And I mean, that's great for them. It worked for them, but the bunch of guys that I was hanging out with and making music with, it just didn't feel natural. And we knew we had to be honest.
Right.
And we were just trying to be, a sort of a band that musically paid tribute to the blues, rhythm and blues, soul stuff that the bands that we all cut our teeth on, the Zeppelins and the Bad Companies, AC/DC, ZZ Top,
Right.
All those kind of bands. So, oddly enough, it's like we wound up standing out from the crowd, us and bands like Junkyard, Rhino Bucket,
Zodiac Mind War.
Aging Slab, Circus of Power.
Yeah.
All these other bands that were just really kind of denim and, just enough booze and fuck you and some, it wasn't so poppy, pop oriented. And, so yeah, we start doing shows, and the next, by the third show. See, the interesting thing at the time was to make a living, I was working the doors at clubs, like Club Laundry, which was a big showcase club in LA, the Music Machine out on the west side of town, and hanging out with all these guys on motorcycles. So I was just handing out flyers to all the bars and, putting them on all the motorcycles. And, the first show, on a Saturday, I just went to the booking agent. I said, listen, if we don't draw, don't ever book us again.
Right.
Just kind of put our dick on the table and said, give us a good slot on a Saturday night. And fortunately, all our friends showed up and the place was packed. And by the third show, I got guys like Jimmy Iovine knocking on the door going, you guys can play, you can sing, you got something going different that's going on. And so the next thing you know, we got this big manager and he's bringing us to all these big record labels. And really quickly, we got swallowed up and we wound up signing the largest record deal for any new band and all this bullshit, music business bullshit. Business bullshit. We were just like, listen, man, until we sell records, until we get out there and make a name, we're nobody. Doesn't matter who's producing the record, doesn't matter who manages the band, doesn't matter what label we're on. We were really grounded and down to earth about it. We didn't think we were hot shit because we got a record deal. None of that crap, dude. You still got to get out in the trenches and sell it and work it and make it connect to people. So, we try to dodge all that bullshit. Bands were giving us the stink eye and, it's like, who the fuck are these guys pulling up on their bikes? And then the next thing you know, these guys are asking us to rent our bikes for the video. They had videos.
Right.
Because this was when the whole, Harley Davidson biker explosion happened in LA.
Right.
Next thing you know, all these guys who kind of dressed up like women were getting Dayglow pink Harleys and,
exactly.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's different,
Now I read one time,
they were being individuals,
right,
standing out. So good for them,
I read one thing where, a while back, Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, he noticed you guys, and he was like, okay, looks like this is how it's changing, and that's why the Girls record was motorcycles and leather.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I was the first guy, me and the guy from Zodiac Mind War, we had goatees,
Yes.
And like we went on tour with Kiss and Gene Simmons, shave that shit off. What is this, the 70s? And like a year later, he's sporting a goatee, you know?
Right. Hey,
and it's like, you know, we had facial hair and tattoos. And like I remember, because a good buddy of mine was this guy, Gil Monty, who had Tattoo Mania up on the Sunset Strip, a tattoo shop right there down the street from the Whiskey and Roxy and Rainbow. And we used to hang out there every Friday, Saturday night because we were buddies, you know, and like Tommy Lee would come in and get tattooed. And he's like, yeah, man, you know, we're the most heavily tattooed guys. And, you know, it wasn't like this giant explosion of guys getting covered in ink back then.
No.
And then all of a sudden, Roseanne Barr and Cher and all these like TV and movie stars are getting all tattooed up. And the next thing you know, it's like trendy as fuck. Harleys and tattoos and, you know, facial hair. And
right.
And we're like, I mean, we didn't invent this shit. That's just who we were. We were just a bunch of, you know, so, but the next thing you know, like 2 years later, there's Chris Cornell with the goatee and the flannel shirt tied around his waist. And I'm like, I'm fucked. It's like, we haven't connected yet sales wise. And now I look like the guy that's copying Chris, you know.
Right, exactly.
Whatever, man.
But not as bad. Chris was copying you.
No, he was just being Chris, man. I mean,
right.
Chris Cornell is nobody, you know, he's up there on my list of guys that just, you know, can sing his ass off and was cool as fuck. And, you know, so it was just starting to catch on, you know, and it's funny because we used to tell the manager and the label that, listen, all of this highly produced pop metal stuff is fans are becoming numb to it. You know what I mean? It's like MTV was just beating the crap out of it. And thank you. Thank you for that nice compliment. You guys killed it in M3. I really appreciate that. Thank you. We had a blast, man. It was so great getting back out there. But yeah, but anyway, it was like, you know, we knew that some change had to happen in music. And then like the whole grunge thing happened. It wasn't like our kind of music, but it was less produced and a little bit more, you know, and a lot of people hated it. They fucking hated it, you know? And it was like, well, it's different. You know, I got to say that. There was a couple of bands. I mean, Soundgarden I thought was a killer band. I thought guys like Eddie Vedder were a little full of himself, but, you know.
A little bit.
You know, but whatever, teach his own, you know, and it was the nail in the coffin to the whole Sunset Strip sound, you know.
Right.
And, you know, for years I was saying, you guys got to mix it up, man. It's got to get mixed up. You can't just keep doing the pop rock metal track and then the ballad and then you go on tour and then it just became. And then sure enough, what happened was, and we were saying this, people want an alternative. And then then comes alternative music, which was everything from the Red Hot Chili Peppers to Soundgarden to Blues Traveler. You know, what does that mean? It doesn't mean shit. So, you know, and then every band started to sound like they were from Seattle. So the same shit happened all over again.
Exactly.
You know? And, you know, so... But listen, you know, we did some great shows with a lot of those bands, you know, really nice guys and who were, you know, really good at what they do. It just wasn't our thing, you know, being that sort of glam kind of thing. So,
you know, and everything comes around. I mean, you get a few years of this, and then all of a sudden it's this. Like right now, it used to be sitcoms on TV. Now it's reality shows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Everything comes in waves, and you know it was
everything comes in spurts. Yeah,
you know, you just got to roll with it and just hope for the best. You know,
it is what it is. I'm really hoping that, you know, there's certain types of music that start seeing a resurgence. You know, the internet's a great thing. If it wasn't for the internet, you know, Caesar wouldn't be really happening because you don't have labels behind you and shit anymore. But you know, but on the other side of the coin, you get a lot of diluted music, you know, and it's kind of hard there's tons of it out there, but it's kind of hard. And then, you know, every once in a while, these, you know, savior bands come along that's going to save rock and roll, like Greta Van Fleet and all this stuff. And I'm like, they're good, you know, and they're kids. God bless them, man. I mean, that's great. But I don't. they sound a lot like Led Zeppelin, their early stuff anyway, and I'll just put it on a Zeppelin record,
Right.
So.
And sometimes that works out to where you're getting the young kids interested. Okay, then they go, okay.
I mean, for
says,
that alone, and listen, man, I know this firsthand. Any band that gets they're going to save something, or
right,
going to be this explosion or something. It's like the big red flags go up, especially when there's no new. I mean, we never broke any new ground. We were just like I said, throwing AC/DC, Leonard Skinner, and Bad Company all into a fucking blender,
Right.
And doing our own little renditions of that kind of stuff, a little bit of soul music thrown in, and heavy guitars, but absolutely not breaking any new ground, that's for sure. So.
No, but at the time, it was needed. In my mind, it was needed.
I was our own unique smoothie of all that shit.
Exactly.
But the difference is that we didn't think that we were innovative. We just thought we were being competent, making something fresh and good and quality.
Exactly.
But there was no, we didn't have the sort of Yngwie Malmsteen that we were reinventing guitars or something, which,
You're just going out there and kicking ass, playing on stage.
We don't know any better. We're just doing what we love to do and how we do it. And people seem to like it. So we were like, okay, great. But that still doesn't mean I'm a fan of music way before I'm a maker of music. So, I never look at it like, oh, wow, I have a record deal. I'm a rock star now. No, man, I'm just a lucky son of a bitch who gets to do what I love to do.
Exactly.
That was it, man,
Right place at the right time, doing the right kind of music.
That's it.
That's it. Now your EP comes out, and this little gem here.
That's our little contrived EP.
That little gem right there.
Contrived, yeah.
Now that was the precursor to it all. You know,
the backstory on that was Geffen Records had success with Guns N' Roses, the spaghetti incident or whatever. So they thought that was a good model. So they went to their folks over at Metal Blade and said, while we get ready to put out the record on Geffen, it would be great to get some tracks that aren't going to be on the record out on the streets. So they were kind of oddball songs. And they put it out on Metal Blade, and I tell you, man, I wish we stayed on Metal Blade because they're a great label. Brian Slagle over there and all the crew, they're just so passionate about their music. And it's just like a mom and pop shop, and they're just so credible. And, so that's how that came about. The EP is he just held up the giant condom.
Exactly. The giant condom contains one vinyl LP. It's like, instead of contains one condom prophylactic.
Yeah, that was my little idea.
Really? I love it. I mean, I think
share with the scumbag theme.
Right, exactly. And you're in a record store, you buy something that stands out. You buy something, I bought Metallica because I love the way the logo or the name. I was like, God damn, that's cool.
It's got to stand out from the crowd.
It's got to stand out. Yeah. Then you go to this one. Boom.
Yeah.
Everybody and their brother knows. And you got a sprinkle of, with the EP, you got a sprinkle of what Little Caesar was going to be about. Yes. Yeah.
And then once Bob Rock got a hold of this, and
God,
the corporate structure, all of a sudden we had huge battles over how that album was going to sound. Yeah. And we were up in Vancouver working with Bob Rock, and we're calling, this is before cell phones and emails. We're calling down Jimmy Iovine and just going, dude, you better step in on this, because what happened was we were going to make just a real straight ahead, honest, like an AC/DC, ZZ Top kind of record. And Bob Rock said it would be really into doing a real stripped down kind of record like that. And just as we started finishing up all the basic tracks, Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood goes to #1. And all of a sudden, Bob goes from making our kind of record to us making a Bob kind of record.
Right.
And so, background singers and keyboards and overdubs and all this shit start going on. And, we don't have the power to fight the corporation. And so that record turned out to be a lot slicker than we really wanted it to be, but is what it is.
To me, it's not slick. It's
Yeah, well, you should have heard it when it started.
The demos, yeah. I always love
the
demos.
Compromise. This record is the compromise. If you listen to the EP, it's a lot more stripped down, and that's kind of
easy.
Because we were talking to producers like Ed Stasium and Joe Hardy, who did a lot of the ZZ Top engineering stuff, and but you go against a guy like John Kalodner, and he's like, "No, man, I got the guy. So we're like, okay.
And Bob Rock, he can produce, and
no shit, dude.
He's great at it. So,
killer producer, but again,
but you never know he did this one. And to me,
right? Yeah, no. Because if you listen to Bob Rock records, it's a lot more produced, right? So, Bob had a brand to protect and a sound to protect after going #1, and we kind of got caught in the middle of that, which was the beginning of getting caught in a lot of bullshit. But
exactly,
music business crap.
Music business crap. Yes, which leads us to Influence.
Yes, the second record after the first record crashed and burned because of infighting, egos, selling of the label. Yes. Label manager getting fired from masturbating on his secretary, all these great things that happened in like a 6-week period that put a nail in that coffin. We go into start preparing to do a second record and try to rebound. Right. Apache, the original guitar player, left the band because of all the business bullshit. And Earl Slick joins the band. Killer guitar player, great songwriter. And we, at this point, it's now a second record. A lot of money's been sent. We would go in there kind of quick and do a record and work with the great Howard Benson, co-producing it with us. And it was a little bit more of the kind of record we wanted to make. But at that point, the honeymoon was over at Geffen. Yeah.
So you was it this album that you were on tour in? I think I remember it was like Europe. You guys were on tour in, and basically everything got shut down.
Yeah,
we went bust. And
what happened was when they sold the label, right as the first record came out, David Geffen sold the label for like some record $1 billion or something like that. Mm-hmm. The Japanese who bought the company realized that Geffen had 260 bands on the label, of which you only heard of about 10 of them. So they bring in this Hatchet guy who starts cutting all the budgets to everything. Coincidentally, our record, right as we're on MTV, you couldn't buy it in the store because when he sold the label, they switched distributors. So all of our records, while we're on MTV and on radio, are sitting in warehouses, Warner Brothers warehouses, and they moved over to BMG as their distributor. So this all happened right as our first record got released. So that kind of was what screwed everything up. Yeah. So at this point, when we did the second record, we were like, you know what? The record was really well received in Europe. There's none of the way the label was structured is they had their own kind of setup over there, their own people running the show. So we were like, why don't we go over and work with those people? Because we like those people because they're not these people. Hey, what's up, Jim?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Just telling a little bit of my backstory here. So we get over there and, we do a show at the Marquee in London, and it is just off the hook. There's lines around the block. And coincidentally that night, at the time, this band Thunder was headlining the Monsters of Rock tour. And they invited us onto the tour, and Geffen wouldn't give us any tour support. They didn't think that playing in front of 70,000 people a night was a good thing.
Wow.
Well, that's kind of when we knew this shit is over. So we came home, and that was kind of, the beginning of the end. So ended our relationship, Plus, I was opening my fucking mouth in the press about kind of what douchebags people there at Geffen were, and they didn't care for that. So I didn't really do myself a lot of favors.
Sometimes it's hard to keep your mouth shut.
Shit about fearless leader David Geffen is not. He doesn't care for that too much.
Yeah, whatever. He deserved it, you know.
I think he was a big boy. He could take the truth, but he didn't like the truth being spoken in public. So
no, not at all.
Yeah, whatever.
So, hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim. Jim, thank you for the noble work you do selling music, hard copy music. That's fabulous.
It's this is actually my first day back in over a year, so I'm a bit rusty, but I'm super excited. Thank you. I'm here at Record Crate in Wake Forest, and actually on our shelf, we've got the cassette.
The cassette. Yeah, that is. I see those pop up on eBay every once in a while. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, they're making a little bit of a comeback, a little bit.
Yeah, I know that. I don't understand the vinyl. I totally understand.
Right. I don't know why anybody would want the headache of trying to.
The only thing it had was portability, and that was about it. The audio quality is subpar, to say the least.
You can stuff 7 of them in your jean jacket, man.
Yeah,
I mean, inside pockets, outside pockets. You could get your Walkman in, and you got 7, 8 tapes on you, man.
Yeah. Pop it in and listen to all that phasing and hiss. It's fabulous.
Exactly. Hey, Jim, you got anything you want to ask or add or anything?
I was trying to listen in a little bit, so I hope I don't backtrack. But you know, one of the things that has always struck me about Little Caesar's music is just there's just so much soul to it that it's not just someone singing, it's someone pouring out their soul. And when you know, not just your covers, but when you've got some of your originals and you're just telling it like it is, you know, sometimes people need to tell it like it is. Like I love Straight Shooter off of the latest album. You know,
I appreciate that.
And the fact that you try and tell folks like, hey, you know, what we've got is right now. I think at M3, right, you might have said something before you talked about time enough for that. This is the moment we have. This is the moment to cherish.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah,
so just that
the past is history and the future is a mystery. So
heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for that, Jim. That's a big compliment. You know, to me, my favorite music is music that have soul, and soul isn't just Aretha Franklin. There's a lot of bands, you know, like Chris Cornell's got soul. And I heard a definition by Ray Charles. He explained it. He says, when the singer can make you feel something that you weren't feeling, and the singer can translate that emotion into music, that's soul. And that always resonated with me, and I always try to do that. You know, I was never, you know, when Brian Johnson came along, he was incredibly influential. All of a sudden, guys like Mark Slaughter and Axl Rose and a lot of the guys on the Sunset Strip, they had that high, masky, up in that range kind of thing. And I never really liked singing that way, so I kind of went back to the Paul Rodgers kind of, you know, a little more of a you know, sort of tenor kind of singing style, as opposed to that what's called the mask up in the head there. And you know, there's a lot of soul that can come from that with a little bit of grit. And you try to write an honest lyric, you know. Like, you know, I used to catch shit from Gene Simmons when we were on tour. He was like, yeah, you keep writing these songs about your job and your life, and nobody wants to hear that shit. You want to hear songs about pussy and cars and stuff.
Well, that was cool too, you know.
I was like, I love a good pussy and car song.
Hell yeah.
Know, I write some of that crap myself, but we're just kind of a working class, you know, we're not trying to be larger than life. We're trying to be just down to earth and honest, and that's the kind of band we are. We're not really these big showmen like David Lee Roth and Gene Simmons. So let's at least just come across in the way that Skinner or Bad Company or just that sort of working man's kind of that you can relate to on that level. So,
and I think that's why that first full length LP has stood the test of time, really, because I still play that thing at least once a month. I mean, that goes on the stereo. And songs like From the Start. I mean, they grab you and they put goosebumps on your skin. It's like, it touches you. Every song, if I like something, it touches me in a certain way. Some days I'm in the party mood and, hey, but other days when I throw on an album of, mainly, it's because I'm going to sit down and I'm going to absorb the thing. I love to absorb the music, and that album really is one of them. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to Ron Young. It touches you, and you can absorb it, and it's a good album.
Thank you. That really means a lot to me. It's like at this stage of my life, I get these emails or notes in Messenger on Facebook where someone has a story about a song and how it's connected and it's been woven into the fabric of their life.
Yep.
A lot of people, like In Your Arms, they played it there.
Oh God.
Their wedding and shit, or Riding On when they lost a buddy in a motorcycle accident. And as a songwriter and a performer, there's absolutely no greater compliment when somebody says that a piece of music has been woven into their life like that. I mean, it's not about awards and money. It's as a musician and as a creative entity, that's what you hope something you created does.
Right. Exactly. Now, around this time, you had a acting career.
Oh, yeah, if you want to call it that. Yeah.
You got your ass kicked by somebody, really?
Yeah. It's the quick backstory on that was back when I lived in New York, I became friends with Catherine Bigelow, who wound up becoming an Academy Award-winning director. And we did some music for her first film, and we were running buddies. And I moved to California. She moved to California. She winds up marrying James Cameron. So I start hanging out with him, and he's in the middle of shooting Terminator 2, and he's got this scene, and he's bored. He just calls me up on the phone. He's like, "Dude, come to the set in like 3 days. I got a part for you." So I'm like, "Okay,
Sounds like a setup to me."
Right, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm up for anything." And he gets me a SAG card. I'm in the union, and next thing I know, I'm in like this iconic scene in this iconic movie. It's just dumb luck that I whack Arnold Schwarzenegger in the head with a pool cue and get thrown out of a window. And it's so weird because that night that they were shooting that was the night of the Rodney King beating. And it happened like 2 blocks away from where we were shooting the movie. Oh. And we went to almost where the sun came up because there were so many cop cars. And the sirens were going off, and Jim kept having to cut the filming because it was getting picked up by the microphones. And we had no idea what was going on just up the street. And so here's this like famous scene getting shot on a famous night. It was just kind of really a weird alignment of the planets going on that night. So
right. When I first heard, I didn't know. I first watched Terminator 2, and then later, I was like, "Wait a minute, Ron Young's in this?"
Yeah,
okay, wait a minute. So I had to go back. My buddy's like, "Oh yeah, he gets thrown out the window." I was like, "I remember that," but okay, I went back and I'm like, "Hey, there he is."
There he is.
It's like,
yeah, tattooed scumbag biker. Yeah, that's Ron Young. Yeah.
And we used to get so excited when our rock stars, when our guys or the music that we listened to would be on the big screen, or it's like it's carrying the flag, represent exactly. That was cool.
That was a fun experience.
I'm sure.
That's when I decided that being in movies is not. You sit around for hours. It's fucking boring. It really is. And they shoot it over and over and over again. When you sing a song, man, you sing it and it's gone. It's out in the universe. Right. And that moment is past. And it was either magical or it was boring or whatever it is, but it is what it is. You don't get to go, okay, stop. we're going to do that again, you know,
Right.
until we get it the way we like it. You don't have that ability in a live show. So it's kind of weird. So not my thing to be an actor for sure.
Now, I know you didn't like makeup. Did they have to put makeup on you?
Well, yeah, because you're in the film. But the interesting
Right.
thing was, speaking of my buddy Gil Monty, you know, Jim Cameron is such a perfectionist that the union didn't allow me to go through the window, so they had to have a stunt guy. So Jim hired Gil Monty to come and copy all my tattoos, painted them onto the stuntman, and they took a sample of my hair to get a wig made for the stuntman.
Like crap.
And yeah, this is why it was at the time by far the most expensive movie ever made, because Jim Cameron does not mess around.
Right.
So yeah, they had this stuntman that was all painted up to look like me, and yeah, they put a little bit of makeup on you so you don't shine and you're not oily,
Right.
when you're sitting in a hot bar for, you know, hours on end, wait under the lights to get back to shooting, you know.
Right.
But it was fun hanging out with Schwarzenegger. He's a nice guy. He's a real down to earth, nice guy. And he was sitting there in his underwear for, you know, because the beginning of the scene is he walks up naked. So
Right.
like he had his flesh colored underwear and smoking these Cuban cigars. And we were just hanging out for like 3 hours because there were all these sirens flying by. So it was kind of weird, you know.
It'd be a cool thing.
Yeah.
That'd be a really cool thing. Now, fast forward to 2018. Okay. Well, let's go back. Before 2018. Now, there was a quote one time that you said about not making it big, and you basically said, you know, I'm very happy we didn't make it big.
There's definitely a part of me, and I'm convinced of this. If I were to become what the intent was to be, you know, I would definitely either be a major raging asshole or dead. There's no doubt about that, you know, because it's a really dysfunctional world. And I got to say, there's a really high percentage of guys that made it from back in that day who are rather dysfunctional human beings.
Right.
I'm not going to name any names, but they're always all over the internet, opening their mouth or engaging in some non-adult-like behavior at 57 years old.
Right.
And I enjoy being a functional adult now, you know? Right. And so I don't know if that would be the case. Maybe that's just a rationalization. I don't know. But I still get to make music, you know? And yeah, it would be nice to be making a lot of money doing it and doing it to, you know, 10 to 100 times more people than we do every night in arenas. There's no doubt about that. But you can't carve out one from the other.
Right.
And the excess and the stroking of the ego and the pampering and the pettiness that comes with, you know, the battles of egos on bills I mean, it's a really bizarre life, man. You get on a bus and you go from town to town and you don't see any of the city. You roll in, you check into the hotel, you go to the venue, you set up the gear, you sound check, you play, you shake some hands and have, you know, maybe there's a party, you know, but you know what? You can't party every night. A lot of guys who did that every night are paying the price for it now in their later life.
Exactly.
And then you wake up and do it all again. And it's not really reality. It's a sheltered, bizarre kind of situation. And if I would have did that for 20 straight years, I would not be the man I am today. And I like who lives in this skin, you know. It comes with a lot of scars and bumps and bruises, and it came with a lot of pain for quite a while. But you know, I got the phone ringing. You know what? They become badges of honor over time if you survive them, and the lessons that you learn, you know, make you a better person if you take those lessons and learn what you need to learn from them. And so I don't regret any of that. You know, you know, here's this band that got the largest record deal ever signed to a new band at the time period, and not many people know about us, so obviously we're not a huge success. And that fucked with my head for a long time, but you get over it, you figure it out, and you put it into perspective. And like everybody else who has trials and tribulations and rough patches, you either bounce back from it or you get screwed. So
right now that puts you went into like drug addiction.
Oh yeah. Self-medication is
self-medication. And, I was there as well. I mean, I could talk from experience that things don't work out. You run to drugs, you run to alcohol, and
when you find something that numbs that pain, you got to be really careful, because it's real easy. Especially for me, it was heroin. Here I was out there on tour, partying every night, but music was my drug, and trying to be successful was my passion. It wasn't about the parties or the girls or any of that shit or the attention. Right. It was about trying to get it so we could keep playing more music to more people and do this for a long time. And when Ron didn't become the rock star that they promised him, Ron got really sad. And Ron started to do heroin, and it felt really good.
It felt really good.
And I was so fucking arrogant that I didn't think that it would ever get its hooks in me, Exactly. But the next thing you know, you wake up and it's 6 months later and you've been calling the fucking guy every day, and it's in you, and you can't climb out of that fucking ditch. And I lived in that ditch for like 6-7 years, man, and destroyed a lot of shit. I was a pretty miserable human being, and paid a lot of price for it, and then fortunately, I just I was sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Sick and tired of being sick. And, that might be what do you call it? It's the truth.
No, it's the truth, man.
You get sick and tired of being sick and tired of everything.
Yeah, and the problem is, man, is it's the hardest thing I ever did in my life was to stop doing heroin, was to get clean, to look at myself, to be honest with myself, to own my bullshit, to look at my frailties, and to really take personal ownership of all that, which is necessary to get all of these ghosts out of your fucking machine.
Yep.
And the physical discomfort, the mental discomfort, the spiritual discomfort that comes from both using and then doing what you got to do so that you never go back there requires a lot of looking at your shit and owning your shit. And a lot of people have problems with that.
Yep. And the guilt that you feel, the guilt about how you treated others and what you did, how you acted. That's another part that a lot of people can't get over, and then they go back.
Yeah, when that spiral of shame, man. I mean, it's when you really own your shit and you get humble enough to really realize, okay, I did, I was married and I was lying to my wife and selling shit on the side, and my best friend that I was just being fucking heinous to, and totally, I was in love with heroin. It was an emotional cheating, and all that kind of crap that comes with it. And then to really look at that and to own it and try to make amends for all that kind of stuff, so that you really can get through the cycle that's needed for you to have a redemption at the end of that, become a different human being. Man, it's really, really hard. And anybody that's going through it or has gone through it knows what I'm talking about. And after this last, year and a half, man, there's a lot more people that are battling it, who had a rough time. And I really, really empathize with those people. They're not bad people. They're sick people.
No, exactly.
And, we have to look at it that way.
Right. And, kudos to you. A lot of people hide this. And a lot of people don't don't address it. They don't want people to look at them bad.
Yeah,
but you know what?
there's a lot of embarrassment with it when
Right.
who wants to admit you became a fucking dope fiend?
Right, I did.
That's not an accolade you like to put on your resume, Former dope fiend.
Right. Hey, I might not have done heroin, but I was really big on cocaine and crack and alcohol.
It's all the same shit, dude.
It's all the same shit.
Heroin or Hershey bars. It's the same shit if you're doing bad stuff to keep it going.
Right. And just kudos to you for flying the flag of, it's
well, I try to
try help.
I got no skeletons. I've got no secrets in my life anymore. It's about all of that keeps you humble. And you know what? It's actually served me well with our fans of music because, a lot of people try to keep this larger than life persona going, that they're rock stars and everything on social media. And I realized early on that, listen, I'm not that. So I'd rather be honest and connected to people and really, try to do a lot of good stuff with charities and really, connecting to fans honestly.
Things that matter.
I'm not going to dazzle you with the fucking pyro anymore.
No.
So I want you to like me as a human being and at least appreciate my honesty and my humility, because the music does the talking, man. If I write a piece of music and sing on a song and it moves you, it's not because I drive a Lamborghini and I have like a bevy of strippers in my house, That's not what it is anymore. Right. It's because I made something credible and honest and it moved you, connected to you. Right. So that person I don't understand it. I just do what I do. And if it moves people, I'm really grateful for that. All the other crap, dude, is I'm just another dude like anybody else. Nothing I do is any more magical than the mechanic or the nurse or the clerk or the cook. I just do what I love to do. And if you take pride in what you do and it connects to people in their way and is honest and is passionate, then you're good at what you do. And that's noble. You're a rock star being a cook. You're a rock star being a mechanic. So this elevation of persona, because you pick up an instrument and do something that moves you, it comes with the territory. But I just never gravitated to that. It just makes me feel awkward, I'd rather enjoy the experience of somebody coming up and saying, hey, man, this song that you did, and what does this mean to you? And they tell me what it means to them, and we become friends. I have some friends, that I've had now for 15, 20 years that I met over social media who were just a fan who wrote me. And now we're friends, and I give a shit about what's happening in their life. And it's a gift that music gave me. Right. And so, I mean, sure, a guy like Tommy Lee, who's got 200,000 people chasing him, doesn't have that ability, but I do, and I'm going to take advantage of it. So
exactly. And you know what? Through music, we say this a lot, that, ever since M3 in 2015, I met some really cool people at that festival, and Jim was one of them. And it's a great festival, and it's like family. When you go there, it's like family.
I sense that. This was our first year there.
Yep.
It's run by really great people and who have a passion for the music and a real pride in their event and what it stands for. And, the fans are great. And it was just such a treat to get on a plane and go play, but then on top of it, go play at a really well-run event by really, really talented people who are rock stars in their own right in what they do put on the festival. So it's great.
Hey, Jim, you were there.
Yeah, I was there. I mean,
what'd you think?
I was stoked from the day that they announced the lineup and I saw Little Caesar was on there, because I've been a Little Caesar fan from the late 80s. I was lucky enough to grow up in the time, when Little Caesar came out, and we had rock and roll clubs, not just a place that held a concert and then shut down, but it was a fucking bar that people came, hung out, bands played, a band came out and hung out with people. So that whole time frame is when I learned about Little Caesar and was just hooked. because as you mentioned, when someone can make a connection, whether it was a Motown cover or an original, it's just like talking about when you're feeling bad, talking about when you're feeling good, talking about real stuff that real people dealt with, not just some crazy stuff out there. So when you're singing about hard times, or when you sing "I Wish It Would Rain," I mean, me and my buddy Brent were messaging on Facebook going, "Oh my gosh, I hope they sing 'I Wish It Would Rain,' because that song and your rendition of that song is just reaches into you."
I really appreciate that.
And so we're hoping, fingers crossed, it's not really an October kind of song, but we're keeping our fingers crossed. Both Brent and I.
We're putting it back in the set.
Boom.
So it's a really popular song. Hey, you know what I just noticed? Hold on. I'm backwards. Over there.
I do that all the time.
I've got my rocking horse and my gun.
Hey, it's American, right?
Yeah, that's America right there, pal.
America. Oh yeah.
Yeah, look, the singer from Little Caesar has a sniper rifle sitting in his house. Hey, look at that.
Hey, we're allowed to have them. Don't try to take you're going to take my gun out of my cold dead hand.
Nowadays, I recommend everybody become proficient with it. Be sane, be responsible, but there's some fucking lunatics out there.
Right.
Exactly. And I've come across some of them. So, plus I live on a ranch and I've got skunks and coyotes and rattlesnakes and sort of wild dogs that run around. I've got livestock to protect, and so if I've got to plop up in the window and take a beat on something that's down trying to eat one of my pigs, there you go. So
eat one of your pigs.
Anyway, wish it would rain.
You're allowed to eat your pig. The wildlife's not allowed to eat your pig, but you can.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Don't take my food. All right, fast forward to 2018. You released this album, 8. Right. And a lot of times I don't go for
the newer music.
Yeah. Right. And one guy I talked to one day, no names, but he told me, I said, man, this album to this album is, the one you released in 90 compared to the one you released in 2017. I mean, they're totally different. And, I really don't get into this one. He's like, well, I'm grown up now. The things I wrote about then aren't really the same things I write about now. And I get that, I get that. Sure. But every now and then you come across a band that doesn't change. They sang about what mattered back then. It wasn't the party. Right. It wasn't about partying, about girls, about this and that, being 19 and just fucking shit up. It was about things that mattered to them. And that's what Little Caesar was. So then fast forward to 2018, and he's still doing the same thing. I picked that CD up, and I'm like, what? It's a testament to that CD. You did 4 songs on the set list at M3 from 8, did 4 songs from self-titled album. So both albums are just as good as each other, and they're 30 years apart almost?
Well, I'm glad you get that sensation. Listen, when we do a record, we sit down and the first thing we do is, what's the kind of song we haven't done yet? Like a Skinny kind of thing, or let's do a Stonesy kind of thing, or let's do a Merle Haggard cover, but where a Social Distortion would do it,
Right.
And then the spices of the stew of the 5 guys get together, and it's been really consistent. Right. And so it allows us to keep doing the same trick kind of over and over again, because it's just straight ahead rock and roll. We don't.
Exactly.
There's bands that I know that are actually kind of slaves to their sound from 1987 and 88, because that's what the fans want to hear. And some of that wears well, and some of it really stands out as being a little goofy now,
Right.
And it's a tough choice for artists to make as to whether they want to continue doing what they did, depending on what genre and how it was produced when they got their notoriety. and it puts them in a difficult spot. We started out trying to be a band from 1977 to begin with, so you know, we were dated then. We can be dated now. You know,
I think it's a good date. I mean,
yeah, it's consistency to just straight ahead rock and roll. AC/DC keeps making the same kind of music, and it's fucking great.
And you can count on it.
It just never gets old.
Exactly. I can go by, which they just released another one, Power Up, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Boom! It could have been released at 70 or 80. I mean, it's
nah, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it feels right,
exactly. It's got to feel right.
Don't overthink it. We just get in the room. I mean, the thing is now is we make records and we can't overthink it because we don't have the money to go into a studio and overproduce or get in our own way. So we set up a bunch of mics and we cut the basic tracks and then we clean up a couple of things, throw some background vocals on it, mix it, and it's a fucking record, you know?
Dude, and it works.
That's the way they made records in 1977. They just, you know, be on tour, and Deep Purple would rent out a chalet in France and they'd set up some mics and live there for 3-4 weeks and just record night and day.
Right.
And then get back out on tour, you know? Right. And those are some of the greatest records made. They had a lot of personality. Right. You know, the problem with a lot of bands and, you know, a little insider stuff is when you write these songs and record them and you start to hear them over and over and over again as you work on them in the studio, they become molecules. You start to lose the impression of the song that you got when you first wrote it or recorded it. And you start to lose focus. You know, you see the minutia. And sometimes when you focus in on the minutia, you are looking way past the important parts. And people overthink it and they overdo it. And you know, that working with Bob Rock is like that. The guy is a perfectionist. He's got perfect pitch. And I remember, you know, Apache would do a guitar solo and he'd be in there for 3 hours. And Bob's like, the guitar's out of tune. The guitar's out of tune. It wasn't about his playing. Right. It was the way the guitar. And we're looking at each other like, dude, the guitar is not out of tune. And he would actually get so frustrated, he'd get up with a pair of wire cutters and walk in and clip all 6 strings off. Restring the fucking thing. Wow. Like, wow, man. And he's like, I've got perfect pitch. And I'm like, but this isn't perfect music, dude. This is rock and roll.
Rock and roll isn't made to be perfect.
I could play you AC/DC songs where the guitars aren't perfectly in tune and they vibrate a bit. And it's got personality. Those records have personality. Rolling Stones records have personality. Skinner records have they all have personality. Aerosmith. Early Aerosmith. When Bruce Fairbairn got in there, they kind of got a little slick, you know.
Permanent Vacation on kind of went slick.
Yeah, it's a great records, but they're different records than those, you know, Get Your Wings kind of.
You know, they start to bring in writers. I love when bands bring in writers.
Desmond Child and Diane Warren, and listen, they got sober. It resurrected their career. They're great records, but to me, my favorite records are, you know, Rocks and Get Your Wings and
Rocks.
You know, now maybe it's because I was in high school and these are the records that spoke to me, and I got older and I knew too much. I don't know, but I still think it's because they have more personality and more of the bands comes across as opposed to the sonic slickness. Of a little, because that's the same studio Caesar went to record at. Was it Little Mountain, where Aerosmith and Motley Crue and the Cult? That's where all of them did their records. It's out of business. But you know, that was a great studio to make really slick sounding records. You know, so.
Right.
You talk about so you talk about personalities. There's a core 3 of you, you know, that have been together, you know, from the start. And
from the start.
I was going to say, pardon the pun. Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to be walking around, and I spotted some folks from Riley's LA Guns and a crowd around talking to them. But I looked past them, and I saw this big, tall guy I was like, wait a
Pharaoh.
minute.
Yeah. That's got to be Pharaoh.
That's Pharaoh,
Pharaoh.
and that's Mark. So I actually skipped those other dudes, right? That other band. I was like, no, I'm going to talk to the guys from Little Caesar. That's who I'm going to go hang out with. So we chatted. My wife and I chatted with them for had to be about a half an hour or so, and it was just so cool to just talk and connect. But how did you hook up with those guys?
Well, Pharaoh, I met. I had a short stint with the Four Horsemen when Frank Starr was in a coma, and they didn't really know if he was going to survive or not. They put out a second record, and the record company was beating them up. You got to get out and promote this thing. And they're like, yeah, but Frank's in a coma. We don't even know what's going to happen. And so I got a phone call from Dave Lismy, who is a hot rod buddy of mine. You know, we both into building cars. And he's like, would you, fill in for Frank on this tour? You know, you're not replacing him. You're just paying tribute to what he's done on this record and the first record. And Pharaoh was the bass player during that period in the Four Horsemen. So that's where I met Pharaoh. And he had just this, when we replaced Fidel, the original bass player, who had just an amazing singing voice, Pharaoh was the only guy I could think of that had that singing voice as well as the soul in his playing. So that's where I met Pharaoh. And the Apache rotating guitar player, it's like Spinal Tap. We've had like 22 guitar players, Earl Slick to Chris Latham, who's in Bisto Blanco now.
Bisto Blanco, yes.
Alex Kane, another great guitar. We've had such great guitar players. Who's in Enough's Enough. He had his band Anti-Product, and he's played with the Ramones guys, and just we've had some really great guitar players. And then along comes Mark Tremalia, who just through a friend of ours, Paul Ill, when the spot was open again, because Alex needs to work like all the time. This is what he does. And we weren't working all the time. So we've never had any bad breakups with anybody. There's been some disappointments because of reality. But so Mark got introduced to us, and he came in, and he's just such a monster player, soul player, and just a great guy. I can't be in a band with anybody who's not become family. Right. There's so much stuff you go through, man, in life, especially at our advancing years, that you got to be friends and family before you're even players, man. You got to care about each other on a human level and have each other's backs, because that's going to show in the music, It
is.
And especially at a band at our level, there's just a lot of sacrifices you got to do, taking off work. And Pharaoh's this incredible CGI artist for Marvel films. He does
that was cool.
Yeah, he does just these, dude. He invites me to the crew premieres, so I'm sitting in there with all the people that made these great films, like Thor. And
nice.
So he works for this company that's contracted by Marvel, and Mark is a grip for films, so they're both in the film business. And so, a lot of times we got to plan shit 6 months out to take the time off to go do, like we have a European tour coming up for a month, knock on wood, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
And, and so you got to be with guys that can work the realities around their lives. So that's how I met those guys. And it's like sitting backstage at M3, sorry to burst anyone's bubbles, but you're just hanging out with a bunch of musicians in these rooms getting drunk, and we'd rather go out and talk to the fans, man. Hang out with people that we know from Facebook. It's like, oh my God, I got to meet so-and-so. We've been friends on Facebook for like 5 years. We get to actually connect to people. And that's where the magic is. It's not sitting at catering at M3 with 10 other bands that you've seen 100 times. Right. We got caught up the first day. Now it's day 2, and we want to go out and hang out with people. That's where we find out what people think of our music and us, and it gives us insight as to what's working and what's not working, and we get to make personal connections that last a lifetime. Right, and so nowadays, man, we're still selling it door to door, just like the day we put the band together. You know, we're not headlining M3. So we're trying to get people to not only like music, but get to know us as band members, because that's the essence of being a fan, is to feel like you're connected to the band and it's sincere, and that the fan is respected and appreciated and heard, understood. We want to know why they come to these festivals. What is it they love about music? Because we need to be reminded of that. You know, their passion is inspiring to us. These people, they're risking their health and they're spending money, and you know, some bands take that for granted, you know, and it's like, especially these days, for people to buy a 3-day pass and the risk, like the guys who put on M3, man, they made a huge gamble that they weren't going to get shut down. And the band's got to let people who do that know that they're really grateful. It's not just when the check is paid to you at the end of the night, man. It's without people like, you know, like Brad, who puts on M3 and you know, all these other, you know, festivals all around, we wouldn't exist. And they're taking huge gambles, and not only doing it, they're doing it out of passion, and they're doing it, you know, with good faith, and the bands really need to let them know how grateful they are for that, you know.
Now
I think you guys are,
go ahead.
So you guys are killing it, and it's the same thing. Like, you know, Mike mentioned us meeting at M3 Rock Festival and whatnot. There's a whole, you know, family of folks that look together to meet. Mike's in South Carolina. I'm in Wake Forest, North Carolina. We have people that come from all over the country, and when the world's open, all over the world, looking to have that family that's, you know, each other. And then you've got the musicians that are part of that family. So when it can be like, I tell the story of, hey, right, I met the guys from Little Caesar, right, and we hung out and we shot the shit for a half an hour. That's, you know, that's just a bonding and an experience and
totally. And you know, it's like, I get on these groups, you know, like the M3, I forget the actual,
probably M3 Rockers.
Yeah, M3 Rockers or whatever. And it's funny because, you know, people go like pizza, or they'll talk some shit.
I know they do.
And I get on there and I fuck with them. And they're like, oh my God, the singer saw that. I'm like,
no shit.
Know? It's like, yeah. And then the next thing you know, we're friends, you know, and they're like, oh my God, the guy was actually really cool after I bagged on the band name or whatever, you know. And it's like, dude, I don't take this shit personally.
It's not like you haven't heard it before. I mean,
God,
come on.
I know.
We just came up with something new that I'm gonna get pissed off.
And I always put I always put the laughing emoji or whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, whatever, dude. The reality is it's a page filled with passionate people.
It really is.
And it's okay if you don't like us. It's okay if you think something's goofy. I am not going to be in any way offended by it. More importantly is I'm going to oh my God, I've got this device thing. I had this thing put in my throat because I get GERD in a hospital the other day. A little insight into the glamorous lifestyles.
The glamorous lifestyle.
But you know, yeah, man. I mean, there these fan pages and everything, and all those people. I mean, they're so passionate about music, man, and they need to be nurtured and they need to be heard. And the family atmosphere of all that, when you go to a festival like M3, it's like, yeah, go out there and meet these people who, because of this festival, it's the same thing like Download over in Europe. And, you know, these festivals are a social
Monsters of Rock Cruise.
Right. You know, the Monsters of Rock Cruise is another huge one.
Now, you think that, you know, you love to get out there and meet the fans. Have you been on the cruise yet? I didn't think you had been.
We talked about it, you know, a few times. Our name was kind of thrown into the hat, and I never really listen. A couple of things. I don't like the general public, you know.
Nice.
And that's more of I don't feel comfortable with a bunch of people just coming up to me. Oh, dude, I feel a little awkward. It's like,
not like that.
I know. See, but that's the thing.
Not like that.
It wasn't until like I talked to guys like John Karabi, like in a private message, and he's like, dude, it is so much fun, and I don't like cruise ships.
No,
and I don't like being locked into a place where I can't escape and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And every single guy spoke to Jason Beeler, you know, all these people that mention how great it is in their posts. And I'm like, they're sincere. We got to go for it. And then we finally get booked, and then it gets canceled and then delayed.
Don't worry, it's going to happen.
It's coming up in February. It's going to be great. Right. I'm excited about it, you know.
There is a thing with us cruisers, because I've been on 2 of them, and people let you know right off the bat. If an artist is eating, don't bother them. If an artist is walking with their wife or look like they're going somewhere, don't bother them. If they're just sitting around, be cordial, and you know, it's not
connecting to people. Yeah,
it would be nice. And the one thing about the cruise is you will find that people are very, 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 very nice.
Well, that's what everyone says, because I got a picture of, you know, a whole bunch of fucking hammered folks, and it's like, no, dude, it's not like that.
No,
especially being sober.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, dude, being around people that are fucking hammered, just makes my skin crawl.
No,
you know, I mean,
that's exactly what I thought.
Sober around like 100 drunk people. It's not fun, whether you're sober or, you know, like it's a lifestyle, or you just happen to not be drinking that night, whatever. They're having fun. You're just like, get me out of here.
See, most people know that it's
no, dude, it's not like that, man. The people who go, they're family, they're cordial, they're nice, they're all the great stuff. And I'm like, I'm in, okay. And I heard it, like I said, from a few people that I know that I really trust and respect, and you know, people that over the years have become friends, you know. Yep. And so I'm like, okay, we got to go for it. And so we're you know, and that's another event that's, you know, what it does for music, what Larry Moran, the guy that puts it on, you know, if people knew what guys like him went through this last year and a half between the CDC and cruise lines and all the bands and the legal stuff and the money stuff and all that shit, man. The fact that this guy hasn't keeled over from a stroke by now,
right?
It's just,
you know, most people don't know what goes on behind the
dude, and I mean, these guys are the heroes of music now, because something like Monsters of Rock, it's just so iconic. And then what they did with all the live streams, you know, during the lockdown to get these bands if they couldn't get on the cruise. And I tell you, dude, he wasn't making money from that stuff. It was costing him money, you know? And to do it with such a high production value and passion, and helping the fans, helping the bands, and wasn't a lot going on for him other than keeping the brand going, which is important. But you know, so, you know, guys like him, man, they need to be shouted out and called out for what they do for everybody, you know?
You're going to get a little taste of what the Mork experience is like when you guys do Masquerade. I saw you guys were now on Brad Lee's Masquerade, and you know,
we got asked to do that like hours after our performance in M3, and that you know what, man, that's a major compliment. That, you know, because we try to be really easygoing and user friendly. We're not one of these bands of where's my rider, where's all this in my dressing room, man. We're like, fuck it, water and some towels, and let's rock.
Let's rock.
And be nice to people and thankful for all their help and all that. And so to get invited onto that right after, like the same day that our people performed, was such a nice treat. Man, we get to get on a plane and get to do what we love to do again. It's going to be great.
Right, exactly. This here is Jeff Bradford. He is from American Jet Set. He's the drummer for American Jet Set.
Are they playing with us? Is that?
Yes, they will be
Facebook user with a
Well, he didn't give, but I
looking
got
forward to it. What's his name?
Jeff Bradford. He is the
Jeff.
drummer
Looking
for
forward to
American
playing with
Jet
you and meeting with you and having a great time. You know,
Hell yeah. But, Bradley puts on some, I am associated with Bradley.
he
But he
does.
puts on some really great
Bunch of
events.
really good events.
And you guys are going to, you're going to love it. I know you will. Now it's a masquerade. It's a 3-day thing. It's, costumes, theme, it's Halloween.
Oh, so I can put on put on like my leather pants that I wore 80 and 88 and
only if they're assless. If
not
they're
be pointed
assless.
at and laughed at. Okay, cool.
Assless chaps, baby. No doubt
That's
about it.
redundant. Assless chaps is redundant.
It is. So, I'm stoked to see you guys there. When he added you, that, like you said, at the M3 Festival, I was very stoked. All right, Little Caesars would be there.
Now, you might have a little bit more insight. It said Hammerjack's outdoor event. Is this?
No.
Because Hammerjack's in that area was a really great venue years back.
It was. As of right now, I do not know that information.
Okay, because I saw it listed Hammerjack's outdoor event, and I was like, just hearing the name Hammerjack's, it brings back memories of a great show with great people. So
they're a sponsor. There's a couple sponsors that are on the flyer.
Sponsors are good.
Hey, you can't do it without sponsors, and Hammerjack's a great sponsor, a great supporter of music.
Yeah.
Cancun Canteen is a supporter and a sponsor, and they're really good about what they do. We've had shows there. I've been to a few shows there, and they just
it sounds like it's going to be a blast. And all the guys in the band, as soon as we finished playing, we were like, man, this is such a great event. And because we've done some, dude, where it's every man for himself, and it's it gets pretty dicey from a lot of aspects, from the technical side and the transportation side and the logistics side and the sound side, and everything was just so on point. And I know that they've been doing it for some years, and every year it gets better and better and better. A well-oiled machine, which it is. And so to come in after people have their initial growing pains on these kind of things, which we were the beneficiary of. It's just killer, man. On that weekend, and I know that's not the typical weekend that they do it.
Still, they nailed it.
Yeah, no, they totally did. And and I see people give shit. Well, it wasn't as crowded. It's like we're coming out of a pandemic.
So what?
It's like,
so you got more.
What do you want?
You got more elbow room. Cool.
Yeah,
I don't get somebody crawling on my ass all day long.
It's like, I can put it into perspective, man. This guy put his ass on the line, and I just hope there was enough people so that he wound up not licking any wounds.
Right, exactly.
What do you expect when there's still mask mandates and people are fighting over vaccines and.
Right.
This is one of the things. A lot of people went out of business. A lot of great venues. I mean, just so much that got laid to waste because of this thing. And so, any survivor has to be supported and cheered for their efforts, man.
Exactly.
You got to do that all the way down the line. For even at the little club that has local little bands, they need you to.
They matter.
They need you to go there and have a beer and listen to somebody fucking trash Back in Black.
You were a local band at one point.
That's right, man. If it wasn't how the venues did,
exactly,
there wouldn't be any new music. There just wouldn't be.
If it wasn't for somebody coming out and supporting you, you wouldn't get there.
Plus, listen, the McDonald's is always going to be there. But in your local town, man, anybody that decides to make music the focus, I mean, they're in the booze business. Let's call it what it is.
Right.
But they wrap it around having entertainment, live bands, and the energy and the chemistry and the magic of that. And you gotta support that, man. I've become friends on Facebook with some of these venue owners, up in Canada and down in the South, and to watch what they went through, and they just got lost in the shuffle. I mean, who gives a shit about your local rock joint? But this is their life, man, and this is where great bands go to play as they tour through. And now there's going to be a lot of holes, in that fabric. And so please go out and support your local watering holes that have live bands playing there, man. It's really, really important.
I bang that drum every damn day. Go support it, support live music venues. We won't have it if we don't support it.
And bands too, man.
Bands.
If you don't want this music to go away and become irrelevant, you got to go look for new music that's being played, and even if it's even if it's just a bunch of local guys getting together and banging out some songs, it's not going to be an arena show, but
so what?
It's important, man. It's really important. You support people like that and their efforts.
Exactly. All right. I've probably taken up enough for your Saturday. Anything you want to say? Anything you want to get out there that you haven't got out there?
No, man, I think we covered it. Just you know what, man. Thank you to all you people, who just keep music going and these festivals going, and just be kind to each other. Have some empathy. And just keep your passions up. It's all coming back slowly, and I'm really truly grateful for that. So, for anybody that's still after all this time watching my ass on fucking Facebook or on the internet here, thank you for paying attention and supporting what we do, man. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you.
It's almost like a little resurgence, you get to live it again, where it wasn't. It kind of went away a little bit, and then now it seems like it's coming back.
Yeah, well, everybody's people, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And
exactly.
And, I think there's a lot of people, man, that are itching to get back in and get their ass off the couch for a change and go see a band and throw down the $25 for a ticket, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 125, but whatever.
Hey. I can waste 120. You know what? I just instead of giving my wife the $125 to waste, I'll waste it on a concert ticket. Or a weekend.
That's not a waste, man. It's
it's not.
And, there's a lot of, it's not just the bar owners, man. It's all these guys that hang the lights and do the rigging and drive the trucks, and all these people, man, have been hurt too long, and we got to get back to work.
We need to support it and get them what they need.
No doubt
on their feet. Well, I want to thank you, man. This has been a really good conversation. This was a really good one. You are a stand-up dude. You're a hell of a dude. Stay sober. Let's keep doing it. I'm always here. You ever need somebody to talk to? Like I said, I got 9 something.
It's mutual. Just drop me a note on fucking Facebook that your fucking skin is crawling.
Exactly.
That's what we do for each other when you understand what it's like to just fucking start losing it. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I will definitely see you at Masquerade first, and then Mork. But I will see you at Masquerade.
Looking forward to it.
Be safe out there on the road.
Yeah.
And have a good time. I know you're out there with Junkyard right now, and
yeah, we did a couple shows with our old friends in Junkyard. They're great.
Hell yeah! I've seen them. They're a hell of a. They're just like you guys. No frills, no nonsense. Bullshit. Get out there and jam.
Yep, totally. And great guys too. Really good guys too.
Yep. All right, man. Well, you have a good rest of your Saturday, and you take care of yourself.
We'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. That was and thank you for Jim. Jim's working, so he can't really be here all the time. But thank you everybody for listening. Thank you everybody for being here. Hope to see you at Masquerade. Little Caesar will be playing there. Bunch of other bands going to be there. Check it out. BLE presents Masquerade. Also, they'll be on Morgue. So check out Morgue. Get on Morgue. Moss's Rock Cruise. Or just find them somewhere. They're going to be playing. They're booking shows faster than they can keep up. And let's get out there and support live music. It's back. Let's do it. Let's get out there. If you see me out there, say hi. If I see you out there, I'm coming up and saying hi. So anyway, thank you everybody for being here. It's been a pleasure. Be safe out there. Have fun. Keep freaking rocking. Later.